Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your man, Nathan, and I want to welcome you to the week one of this um, workshop about belief. Belief, a two-way street. Today, we're going to talk about 9 questions to uncover who you are. And we're going to walk through the Who Am I exercise. You see, why did I design this training? I designed it because almost 2 years ago now, I wrote a book. And I wrote a book all based around the premise of how many people are led by the conversations of everything that they can't do. And every day I would walk into work, and that was the leading conversation of anybody I came in contact with. It was a conversation out of scarcity. And I found that what happened would be in the time we worked together, we would create a new belief, but without the tools to take home, it's very easy to get back to that common belief that you had before. So that's really why I wrote the book. Thanks for joining. If you can, type in who's joining so I know. I'm using StreamYard and I can't see your name just from the platform itself. So I'd love to know who's here. I'm going to log in to Facebook so I can see. I'm happy that you guys joined. Let's see here. Hopefully it will pull up. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. I'd love to know what you are excited about for this training and what got you to check it out in the first place. So if you want to drop a comment there and let me know what you are looking for, what your expectations are, because I think that will be supportive in how I can help you guys. For anybody who doesn't know about me, I am the loneliness coach, and what I really focus on is helping to eradicate loneliness and labels to elevate connection in your life. And I believe a big part of that is the inner conversation that you have with yourself. I've got this set for an hour and a half. I don't know if it will take that long, but I just wanted to give us a little bit of cushion. And I want you guys to know that this is going to be driven by you and the conversation that we have together. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments as we go along. And I will get to them when we get to a stopping point in the presentation. But let's go ahead and dive in here. So, first question, have you ever felt like you weren't good enough? Have you ever felt like there's all these things that you can't do, and the story that's created because of that is you can't do it because you're too old, you're too young, you're not smart enough, you are not qualified, you are not fill in the blank. Have you ever felt that way before? Because you see, a lot of times when we feel that way, I'll go ahead and raise my hand first. I've felt that way. I've felt not good enough. And I can tell you it's from what I believed about myself based on labels that other people placed on me, whether it was from my disability, whether it was from trying to live up to someone else's expectation. I've definitely felt that way. So, have you ever felt that way? That's the question. You see, when we feel that way, what that really is doing is it's sucking the power that you have from you. You are giving your power away to whoever is giving you that label. Let's see, we've got not smart enough, not good enough. Yeah, absolutely. I've been there. I know other people that are watching have probably been there as well. Well, I want to tell you a story. All right. And this story, it's an old Cherokee proverb. It's a story of a grandson's conversation with his grandfather. And the grandfather says, there's a fight going on within me between two wolves. You see, one is evil. It is filled with anger, sadness, resentment, self-doubt, self-pity. And one is good. It's filled with love, joy, patience, hope, generosity, and compassion. The fight is also going on inside not only the grandson, but it's a fight that's going on inside each and every one of us. It's going on inside each and every one of us. But you see, the grandson said to his grandfather, after he told him about the two wolves fighting inside, he said, which one will win? So when you think about that, which wolf is winning inside you? Is it the one filled with anger, sadness, resentment, self-doubt? Or is it the one filled with joy, patience, compassion, love, empathy? Which one is winning the battle inside you? And guess what? It can be either one. One is not always going to be winning. We can't always have the good wolf winning. So if right now the evil wolf is winning for you, you are filled with that self-doubt, that sadness, that anger, maybe right now during this time it's confusion, know that that's okay. Know that that's okay, because now you're bringing awareness to that. And with awareness, you're able to take action. And you can say, I don't understand why I'm feeling this way, but I'm feeling this way. And I know that you know how to take action that best suits yourself to get you out of it. And if you don't know right now, talk to me after this and let's work on a plan to get you out of that feeling for sure. So again, which one is feeding you? Don't like the answer? That's okay, because like I said, you have the opportunity to change it. You have the opportunity to decide which one is winning inside of you. Right now, if you are feeling like the wolf you don't want to be winning is winning, I would love for you to drop some sort of action that you feel like you could take starting right now to help the good wolf start to win. I would love to hear what that could be for you. All right, so today we're focused on belief. So in order to change belief, we first need to understand what belief is. And so belief is defined as the acceptance of a statement as true. So then, if you have a label that you are currently wearing and it's defining everything about you, then I ask you this question. Is the label of not being good enough or not being smart enough, is that actually true? And if the answer is no, which I'm sure that it is, then that means we get to ask ourselves these questions coming up to kind of reframe and start a new conversation with ourselves. That's the whole purpose of these 9 questions, to create a new level of awareness for you, to be able to rewrite the story and pick out new labels so that you can become and live out the most powerful version of who you're meant to be. So I see we've got a couple of things coming in. So okay, so Josh, yeah, you're not really sure. Okay, that's totally fine, man. And one of the great things that I'm learning through this time is sometimes the best thing that we can say is we don't know. Like, how much in the world do we actually not know? That's a big problem that gets in a lot of our ways. Is we want so much control and we want to have all the answers, but like there's a lot that's uncertain in the world, and right now is just bringing that to light because it's a new level of exposure to the uncertainty, but every moment in our life is actually uncertain. So let's go ahead and dive into, I think the next slide is our first question. Oh, okay, no. So again, if belief is the acceptance of a statement being true, which one of these mentalities are you living out for yourself? Are you choosing to live out the story that the world is against you? Are you choosing to play the victim and choosing to let your circumstance define who you are and how you show up in the world? Or are you choosing that, yes, you have circumstances, and yes, they may be difficult, but they aren't going to be the thing that holds you back from creating what you want in the world and designing your life in a way that you are the person that you want to become. So, in the chat, which one of these are you living out right now? Are you in a space of the world is against me? Are you in a space of love, in a space of understanding, and in a space of, I'm going to make this happen and I'm going to figure out a way, but my circumstances aren't going to change the fact that I'm going to make it happen? So, which space are you living out of right now? I can tell you right now, for me, it's a space of I'm figuring out how to make things happen. And the beautiful thing about what we are experiencing right now is the fact that, like, we are actually being forced to question these things. It could be very easy to feel like the world is against you, but maybe the world is uncovering new opportunities for you because it placed a circumstance that made you adapt and made you question again what you believe to be true about yourself. It made you question right now what your identity is for yourself. So, Stuart, you are making it happen. I love to hear that, brother, and I love what you're up to in the world. So the world needs you to take that mentality and bring it to the world, because I know there are lots of men in the world that need your support and your understanding to be their best versions of themselves. So again, what is your truth? And I think throughout the next 4 weeks, like when we get done with the whole chapter, that is really going to become even more evident than it is probably at this moment. But the whole thing is designed to question, what is your truth? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's true for you. It's your acceptance. Again, going back to that definition, it's your acceptance of what is true for you. All right, so we're diving into the 9 questions now. So, question 1: what do you already know about what you are meant to do? What do you know about what you are meant to do? Oh, let's see what happened here. Let's see what Brock said. All right, Brock, the universe is conspiring in my favor. I love it, man. Absolutely. I'm waiting for you to bring your wellness center to life. And I'll be right there. If it's in Phoenix, I'll travel out to Phoenix, check it out, man. So absolutely. Question 1: what do you already know about what you are meant to do? When you see that question, what comes up for you? What's the automatic thing without spending too much time thinking about it? What's the first thing that came to your mind? When I think about this question, what comes to mind for me is the fact that I know I am called to change the way people view what it means to live life with a disability. That is one label that I know I'm called to create change around. So that's what comes up for me. I love to hear what comes up for you when you hear and see this question. What are you meant to do? I know some people are working in space with the coaching space. Some people are looking for mental health, being in the mental health space. We've got people in the STEM space. I don't know what it is for you, but I would love that at some point, if it comes up for you, something comes up for you during any of the questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and then I'll speak to them later. But that's going to be the first question that we get to ask ourselves right there is, what do you know that you're already meant to do? All right, on to question 2. When you were a kid, who did you want to be and what attracted you to the role? Writing, bringing people's writing to the world. All right, Josh, that's awesome, man. So leading off of that, is that something that you always wanted to do as a kid? Leading into question 2, if you want to bring writing and people's writing to the world, is that something that you always wanted to do as a kid? And if it is, what attracted you to that? I know humans live unnecessary suffering, and I've shifted out of many of those things. I feel called to help people remove limitations of their mind. All right, man. So we got so many people up to such great things. So I wanted to be a professional skateboarder as a kid. All right, yeah, dude. So, the funny thing about that, and that's part of the reason why I designed this question, Brock. And now we know why you wear that hat, right? Because it's skateboard clothes. It brings you, that's a connection to your youth. I love it, dude. But that's exactly why I designed this question, because I think so often as we grow up, we forget those things that we wanted to do. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a sports center anchor. That's what I wanted to be. And over time that shifts, but I believe that in each of our dreams that we have right now and that we currently want to bring to the world, there's a part of that kid who wants to be an NBA player, or a part of that kid that wants to be a skateboarder. Um, like there's a reason you chose that, and there's something naturally that's created in that that I believe still exists when you chase whatever your dream is now. Like when I think personally for me about being a sports center anchor, it was honestly about connecting with other people. And that's still a big part of why I do everything that I do. I love the excitement of it, but I love the way like Stuart Scott and Van Pelt connected with me in talking about sports. So that's an example of something that attracted me to the role. And I still think that that exists today in everything that I do. So I would ask you, whether it's the skateboarder, the NBA player, what's the reason why behind that? And is there something within that, when you reflect on it, that creates something that you're still creating in your bigger vision now of who you want to be? Because we're always transforming. We're always transforming. So it can change. Like we're not going to be on one set path forever. So it can change. Let's see. What's this other one say? It was natural talent and pull I had to. I was a lost child. It took a while to find this. Through trying many things, this made me happy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's interesting in the fact of trying many things. Like you get to try a lot of different things, and then as we try new things, other stuff is going to open up for us. But I love the fact that we all have different. We have skateboarder, NBA player, sports center anchor, and guess what, right now none of us are doing any of those things, but I guarantee you those things are driving decisions that we make today as adults. All right. So again, on roles, what kind of roles and responsibilities do you enjoy and do you feel good at? What kind of roles and responsibilities do you enjoy and do you feel good at? Um, for me, coaching, one-on-one conversation, those are things that I feel good at. I also feel good at anything in relationship to mentoring children. So when you think about roles in your life, what roles and responsibilities do you enjoy, and what roles and responsibilities are you good at? So Marcy said, I always wanted to be a teacher, and that's what I am. I have a ton of ideas as I matured about what would be fun to do, but I get a lot of fulfillment out of what I do. That's awesome. That's awesome that you always wanted to be a teacher and you made it happen. And you know, the great thing about being a teacher is we all have opportunities to teach as well. And they don't all come in the same form. Like this to me is a form of teaching as well, and it's something that I enjoy. So we've got somebody else who says teaching, reflective listening. Let's see who said that. Oh, okay, Brock. So reflective listening and teaching. Dude, well, I personally know you are really good at reflective listening and um, like just in the coffee chats themselves, you do a really great job of letting people speak their voice and reflecting back to make sure that you understood what they're saying. So describing the let's see, Josh, you said describing the intelligible word or intangible world and describing the tangible world in new detail. Okay, so again, a lot with your writing. Yeah, absolutely. I will read it aloud. So it says, what kind of roles and responsibilities do you enjoy and do you feel good at? And thanks for the feedback. That will help me for next week, saying that it's hard to read on the screen. So I will work on making that better as well. Creating and holding space for others to share what's on their mind and hearts. Awesome. Um, that's great. I think we've got a lot of similar people who are up to different things and have very similar mindsets. And I hope that um, in the community, that's what's created, where we challenge all labels and we hold space for anyone to share what's on their hearts and minds. So I love that. Um, all right. All right. So now that we know these things, now it's asking ourselves question number 4: what drains you of your energy and your motivation? How often do we do things because we feel like we're supposed to and we don't question them, but there are things that drain us of our energy, and they drain us. When we get drained of our energy, we often lose the motivation to do the things that we feel like we should. I'm great at lifting others. I would imagine as a teacher that that's something uh, you get very skilled at. So thanks for sharing. So something that drains me of my energy. Oh, overwhelm. Yeah, absolutely. The idea of focusing on all the things, focusing on and like saying too far out, the idea that we can think ourselves and we can analyze ourselves to death, and then the thing that we analyzed may never come true at all. But our mind is very good at that because we're designed to come out of scarcity, because all our mind wants us to do is to switch into survival mode. Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. Not establishing good boundaries drains energy. Who can relate to that one? When we don't know how to say no and we don't know how to set solid boundaries and create rules for ourselves, that can be extremely draining. Because then, when we don't set boundaries, there's an expectation that, well, you let it happen one time, so I'm going to expect that it's always going to happen. Yep. Predict and protect. Absolutely, Brock, for sure. Um, so, Stuart, with the establishing boundaries, I don't have this in for this session, but I've got an exercise and I'll post it in the community group about setting boundaries, and it's just a worksheet where you can actually set and create your own rules around boundaries. How does perfectionism drain you of your energy? Like, what happens for you, Josh? And guys, thanks for thanks for your patience with this, man. I'm trying this out for the first time. I would love to actually be able to see you guys in person, um, and have this conversation more in person. But I appreciate you all the feedback and everything you guys are doing. So yeah, I will drop that in the community chat, and then while we wait for that, I would say you guys hit some major points that I myself deal with the perfectionism and even the boundaries. Let's see. All right. Oh yeah, absolutely. We write for the perfect. Oh, well, I don't have to see who wrote that. I know who wrote that if it says Peter Crone. Brock, what did you say? Please never become perfect because you'll never be relatable. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Like, and that's the thing, right? We're all messy and we're all imperfect. And that's the way that it's supposed to be, because it's through our imperfections that we relate to one another. And it's through our imperfections. One of the things that I say is the things that we suck at, our weaknesses, are our greatest opportunities for connection. Because if I suck at something, then guess what? There's something that I suck at that you don't. And so when I'm able to accept that and be aware of that, that creates an opportunity for me to connect with you. And maybe there's something I'm good at that you're not good at. I agree with Josh. And the part that I've had perfectionism really hold me back from some great things I could have done. The mindset is kind of, if I don't have enough time to make it exactly um how I picture. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think there's points that we all deal with that perfectionism. Um, and it's like anything, it's practicing a muscle. Like, it's using a muscle to be like, okay, so I know that I deal with perfectionism. So let me give myself the challenge of, like, for example, Josh, if you know about your thing is about writing, then the challenge would be, let me write one, let's just say article, whatever, write one thing, and I'm going to post it without worrying about whether it's grammatically correct, whether it's exactly what I want. All I'm going to ask myself is, does it have the overall meaning and message that I want it to portray? The only way I can write and take action is give my permission. Yeah, to write. Yeah, absolutely, man. Permission to take action. Absolutely. I think um, that's something that we all are looking for at times, is that permission. And it's funny, I actually talked about that yesterday, permission, and I asked people, who was the first person that gave you permission to be yourself? Because I believe that there's always somebody who gives you permission before you know that you can give it to yourself. So if you know of that person as you're listening to me talk here, and they're still around, it'd be awesome to be able to thank them for what they created within you and gave you permission to do whatever that thing is for you. All right, let's go on to question 5. All right, so of everything that you've experienced in life right now, what gives you an amazing sense of purpose? What is that thing that gives you an amazing sense of purpose? That thing that wakes you up and it gets you to move forward even in the times when uh you don't feel like it, but you know that something bigger is waiting on the other side of either that fear or that whatever that feeling is for you of not wanting to do something. What gives you that amazing sense of purpose to break through that feeling? The pursuit of perfection impedes improvement. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's an improvement game, right? We shoot to get better every day. So of my life experiences, I would say the thing that gives me the greatest sense of purpose is when I have the opportunity to work with young kids with disabilities. That's what gives me the greatest sense of purpose because I know what it's like to be them. I was in their shoes, and I know that I have the capability to create possibilities that they may never have seen in their life before just by being myself. One of the greatest things about that is even writing this book. Um, it creates opportunities where a kid may not believe that that's possible, but they've met me, they've talked to me, and now it's something that seems like it's doable. And so that's what gives me an amazing sense of purpose. So Josh, are you saying that creativity gives you an amazing sense of purpose? Is that what we're saying? Let's see what Brock say. The fact that people are one breakthrough away from completely different life by continuing to show up, the potential for that increases. Absolutely. Absolutely. Showing up every day is so important. And our 100%, like the fact of giving 100% every day, our 100% changes on a minute by minute basis. So it's not going to look the same every day. Absolutely. But when we show up and we say, I'm going to give whatever my 100% is, it creates a habit of this is who I am, this is how I show up in the world. And so we're able to rep that out and we're able to build that muscle. Absolutely. Creation, both for fun and services of others, gives me purpose. Okay. Awesome. So whether it's would you say that the creativity for you is only in is it in the creation of services? What kind of creation? And I think that's Stuart that asked or that said that. Yeah, Stuart. Being able to create and expand our frontier. Our work seems small, but the effect goes far and wide. You may not even know it. Absolutely. Absolutely. How many people that are in here watching this right now have ever put somebody on a pedestal? Boom. I'll be the first to raise my hand. Give me a hand raise as the comment for that. But the funny thing is, we put people on pedestals, and those people, for the most part, they never know. Um, and I said this in something that I was doing this week, uh, and about the fact that, hey, even if you're watching and you never participate in something, but you continue to show up and watch, continue to show up and watch, because you're building that muscle of continuing to show up for yourself, and through that you will be able to um, speak your voice when you are ready to do so. Let's see, what did Josh said? Art Stewart. See, guys, I'm getting this all confused because of the way that this does it. But no, if I call you by the wrong name, know that I see you, and it's just me trying to learn this thing. Uh, Breakthroughs for clients, creating workshops, writing, but also creating just for the sake. Yeah, I saw that. So you're doing a lot of drawing these days. That's awesome, man. Well, I know that you are in your creative mode right now, so continue to show up for yourself and show up for those that are impacted by your creativity. All right, question 6. What do those who know you well say that you're meant to do? And for this one, it might um, actually take some time. And here's what I would recommend is I would recommend asking people in communities where um, you may not know people super well, but you are part of a community where you feel safe, where you can ask this question, because you might be surprised by the answer. Um, and if we ask people who have been around us for long periods of time, like our parents, siblings, or best friends that we've known forever, sometimes they talk about labels. They've got us labeled as one thing, and an outside perspective could create something that's completely unexpected for you. And you could see some feedback show up that you never expected. Um, so, does everybody in the comments, do you have people that you feel like you could go to and you could ask them this question? Do you have people in your life that you can say, hey, I'm looking to get some feedback? Can you give me, like, I don't know, 10 minutes of your time to answer this question for me? Just drop that in the comments and we will go ahead and move on to question 7. All right, and here's another one. Like I said, this is probably going to take some more time and it won't be all in this. Okay, I did it a while ago at a Tony Robbins. It was insightful and revealing. All right, so when you did that, Marcy, what kind of what was something that you didn't expect to receive? Like, what was the insightful feedback, if you feel like sharing? If not, cool. But I'd be interested to know um, what it was. It expanded what I thought I could do. Well, that's always a plus, right? And I think that's why that question exists for sure. Is um, a lot of times when it comes to possibilities, we can only see what we can see, and it's finding those outside perspectives that can open up new possibilities. I told a story about I was working for a day center before I started doing any of this coaching, and we were doing weekly trainings for kids with developmental disabilities. And there was a kid that I went to school with, and he talked about all he wanted to do was travel to Texas, I think is what he said. Um, and he knew that he couldn't do it because he used a wheelchair and he couldn't fly on a plane. And I was able to share a story about a guy who had a spinal cord injury, and his injury was much higher and created less movement for the kid. And all it took was that moment of new possibility and that new perspective to help shift what that person thought was possible for them. So it's always amazing to get outside perspectives for sure. So, question 7: what are 5 strengths and 5 weaknesses you see in yourself? What are 5 things that you feel really confident in about your abilities, and what are 5 things that you see as weaknesses for yourself? And this isn't like a job interview. This is you talking to you about the things that are hard for you to do. The things that they may be the things that drain you of your energy, and your strengths are probably the things that give you energy. But what are those things for you? And I would actually add a bonus question to this and challenge you to do a similar thing with the people in your circle and ask them those questions as well if you're open to it. Ask people what they see as your 5 strengths and 5 weaknesses, or however many you want to ask them about. Ask them about that and see what's revealed to you. One of the greatest things I've ever learned when it comes to any kind of feedback is to say, hey, thanks for the feedback. Because just because you give it to me or I give it to you doesn't mean that it's true for you or is true for me. So you get to put the weight into who's giving it to you. And one of the great things is to be able to say, does this person have the life I want? Or if you're asking in a specific area of life, do they have the thing that I want that I'm asking about? They told me I could teach anyone how to manage a classroom. I could lift those who have gone through divorce and inspire others to never give up, because they talked about my grit. That is such an important thing. Grit is such an important thing. Um, the hard things. That's awesome. That's some great feedback right there. So I see a lot that's coming up. Like I know we've never actually talked in person, Marcy, but it seems like you really do have a gift for teaching, and the fact that other people see that as well. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. Seeing other people's strengths. Awesome. Um, so if you do this and you want to share it later, just go ahead and drop it in or send me a message. I'd love to hear from each one of you what some of your strengths and weaknesses are. Let's see: persistent listening, follow through, kindness, resilience, focus, tech skills, trust, consistency, over analysis. So I'm going to assume that those except for the last one, are strengths. I'm going to assume that those are your strengths, bro. They sound like strengths. But I would say I've seen the trust, consistency, kindness, the listening and follow through show up for you for sure. And I've seen the over analysis show up as well. So I would say that you have an accurate depiction of yourself. Thanks for sharing, man. All right, so let's go on to question 8, and I'm going to try and get us. We're going to try and complete by an hour, and that way, if you guys have any questions, you can just have time to ask. So, all right, this is based on if you've filled out all the questions, what has been revealed to you about yourself or about your destiny through answering all these questions. That is what I think is important here. Like when you're looking at the questions in total, what is coming up for you? What have you learned about yourself? And I think that it's really hard to answer this question without getting some of the feedback for the other ones. So I would recommend getting feedback from the people in your life and then kind of coming back to this question. Seeing people's strengths, willing to try new things, that's an amazing strength. The ability to do that stands in a lot of people's way. Creating fun memories for my children, teaching, hand lettering, overanalyzing, being too hard on myself, letting others' disapproval affect my mood, anxiety, and overextending. And so, how many of us can relate to most of that list? In all honesty, I can relate to uh, all of those things, I would say, at some point. I definitely get in analysis paralysis, and I can get into modes of beating myself up. Going back to the pedestal thing, when we put people on pedestals, that gets very easy to do, to beat ourselves up because we start comparing ourselves to other people. And the funny thing is, we're not on their journey and they're not on our journey. So we will never be in the same, we'll never be on the same pedestal as them. What is one thing, Marcy, when you think about the last one, the overextending, what's one thing that you feel like you could put in place to set a boundary of no somewhere that will support you in relaxing the overextending? Is there something that you can put in place, some boundary that you can put in place to support that in any way? Let's see who said. So Josh said, I feel my creative spirit rejuvenated. I already have a couple of things to write after this. That's amazing, man. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that that's going to help you write some new stuff. Analysis paralysis, genius terminology. I appreciate you hearing me and wanting to know. Another weakness for me is I worry about sharing too much about myself. Yep, I think you're not alone in that as well. And even just sharing that, know that that's taking a step in the direction of using your voice. So I want to thank everybody for anything that they've shared here. I know this is unique, and like I said, for me, this is the first time trying this on this platform. So I am thankful that you guys have stuck it out and you had as much conversation as we've had thus far. So I know the final question, and here's what before I even put it up on the screen, I want you to think about, like, in total, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about this conversation that we've had for almost an hour, and what thoughts have come up for you as you've thought about the questions and you've thought about your answers, how you show up as a person. And like the exercise says, who am I? I want you to think about who you are. And I want you to develop the picture of who you feel like you are in this moment before I ask the final question. So here's the final question of the 9 questions that you get to ask yourself to uncover more about who you are right now in this moment, and know that it is forever changing. So if you do this tomorrow, your answers could be different than they were today. It's always changing, and that's okay. That's why these are developed, to always be asking yourself questions. Always be asking, because it raises your awareness. Let me see what Marcy said before I go to our last question. I'm totally working on setting boundaries to not overextend myself. I went off some medication, so I'm giving myself tons of grace. That is so important. I actually talked about that in the mental health chat this morning. So absolutely, it's important, and practicing not beating ourselves up. Right now, I'm seeking to learn more about my emotions and understand what they are communicating to me and communicating to others. Um, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important to understand our emotions, and we don't get taught that stuff in school for sure. So you are definitely not alone in seeking to understand that. And I just want to thank you for, again, that's a lot of vulnerability to be able to share that in this process right now. So know that we are here for you and with you. So thanks for that. And then the final question is, are there areas of your story, when you think about your current story, that aren't serving you? Are there areas of your story that aren't serving you? Are they the things that stand in your way and stop you from being the person that you know you're called to be? And so just think about that. And so this is a 4-week journey. I'll be back next Saturday to talk more about the number 2 exercise in this chapter of the book. And this question right here is so important to what we're going to talk about next week, because we're going to talk about the reframing of the things that aren't serving us. So Thanks for your time. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for contributing. And I want to remind you, you are powerful, and you get to choose to walk through your fire. We all have a fire, and we get to choose every day to walk through it. And you are more powerful than you currently realize. So if this supported you in any way and you feel like it would support somebody that you know, invite them to join the next 3 weeks. They don't have to join from the beginning. And this stuff is going to be up in the group. So they'll be able to catch up and watch it at their convenience. If you have any questions for me, let me go over here. I'll put this up. So if you have any questions for me throughout the week or at any point in time, you can send me an email or send me a DM on Facebook or on Instagram, wherever, because I know most of you are all connected with me on all the platforms, but you can also just send me an email. And then, what are you ready to eradicate so that you can elevate? That's my final question for you guys here tonight. Again, thanks so much for joining, and I can't wait. If you guys have any feedback after this is over, let me know, because I'm here to serve you, and I want to see you guys eradicate things that are holding you back so that you can elevate and be connected to the greatest version of yourself.